All right, Rob. We had a story come out today, Bleacher Report, and they came out with their list of the 5 most disappointing NBA stars this season. Now, they excluded anyone who they feel has been derailed this year by injuries or issues beyond their control. So Kevin Durant, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Jamal Murray, Bradley Beal, all injured players. None of them were eligible for this list. But they still came up with a nice little list. And at the top of it was none other than the great Kyrie Irving. He was number 1. Number 2 was Julius Randle. Number 3, Russell Westbrook. And number 4, James Harden. Rob, do you agree with Kyrie being the number 1, the most disappointing star of the season this year?
No. I don't.
Why am I not surprised?
I think there's somebody bigger, and I'm glad to see Westbrook is on the list and up high because, granted, it's not the most ideal situation for him, Chris, and it wasn't going to be a fit, and it was going to be a struggle, but I still think it's Anthony Davis.
Wow.
I really do.
Even with the injury, you don't give him
Even with the injury, they weren't good. They weren't good even with
11.
them. Yeah, you might be
Rob,
right on that, but they were under.
I think they were 10 and 11 with.
Yeah, definitely
AD,
sub
which isn't
500, which isn't great. And Chris, I don't know. I never got the sense that he was going to grab the bull by the horns.
Rob. Quickly, they were 10 and 11, I believe, when LeBron and AD played. He's played 37 games, so they're better. I don't know what their record. Rob, do you see if you can find out their
10
record
and 15 when AD
10
played.
and 11 when it was AD. No, he's played 37 games, so his record, I believe, is 10 and 11 with him and LeBron. I believe. Well, he's played 37 games. How could it be 10 and 15?
That's the number I got.
All
right, we'll get the number right.
Games,
okay, we'll get the number right. My point is, he wasn't being the player that we've been talking about for 2 years since they won the championship. And we thought with that monkey off his back, he could just play and just go out and be the player and maybe win an MVP and allow LeBron in these later years, Chris, to play but not have to go all out and save LeBron so that in the postseason they'd have a chance to make a run because LeBron's not dog-tired from playing 37 minutes a game or whatever he's playing and stuff like that. And it just hasn't happened. I just think he's been disappointing. I get the injuries. I'm not one of these people who's going to blame him for injuries, even though they've happened his whole career. They just happen, Chris. And it's unfortunate because he's a talented guy. He really is. But there's something missing from Anthony Davis. So much so, and I'll tell you how disappointing that he is, that there was even talk about maybe trading him. Like the idea you would trade a guy of that talent, Chris, he's not an old guy, and you would be willing to part, or maybe you realize maybe you made a mistake. Okay, and here we go. The Lakers have played 62 games. He's played 37. They are 10 and 15 without him in the other games. 17 and 20 in the games that he's played. That's what it is, Chris. Okay. 10 and 15 without him, and 17 and 20 in games he played. So sub 500. That's not good enough. He's good enough in this NBA with a lot of bad teams, Chris, that a good AD, you don't have to have all three guys to beat Houston, to beat OKC, to beat some of these other teams. You don't have to have everybody and everything has to be perfect and you got to have LeBron and Westbrook has to be on all cylinders. No, he's that kind of player that they still should have been able to be better than 17 and 20 in the games he played. I say it's AD.
Well, you make some good points, and obviously AD has been disappointing. And I'll say this, of course, anybody can turn an ankle. We saw his injury with the ankle. Could have happened to anybody. Can't blame him for that. But, Rob, I do think in general, AD's injury problems, I think he can be blamed for. Because I think I just think it's preparing yourself better in the offseason. That's what I think it comes down to. Think
and
about
he hasn't done that, Chris.
We've seen a Grant Hill, a Derrick Rose, a Penny Hardaway suffer a catastrophic injury, a Bernard King, right? Where it was so bad that it derailed their career. And even though they came back, they never were the same.
And give Bernard King, who had a terrible knee injury, Chris, he made it back to the All-Star team.
Right. He never was the same, but he did make an All-Star game or two, maybe even with Washington.
Yeah.
And Grant Hill made an All-Star game. Remember that in Phoenix. But again, neither of them was quite the same. But Rob, for the most part, the great players, if you think about it, they don't have a series of nagging injuries that dog them throughout their careers for the most part. They don't. I mean, again, Jordan got hurt in a year and missed almost the whole year. Like, anybody can have an injury. But when it's constant, when it's 20 games here, oops, he's out for 2 weeks. When in another 10 games, he's out for another week. And then another 40 games, and he's got to miss 2 months. Like, that's preparation, getting your body ready to play in the off season. So that's where I say he can be blamed for that. But all that said, Rob, I don't think he's at the top of the list. I'm shocked. And Rob G tells me he was like an honorable mention on this list. Is that correct, Rob G, the guy I'm about to say? Rob, it's Ben Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ben Simmons. Like, how can it not be Ben Simmons? I mean, he has sat out the entire season. And this vague mental health issue, but even when you had in Philly, you weren't really cooperating with the team. That's why people are dubious. They feel like your claims of mental health are dubious because you weren't cooperative. When you had to be finally and push come to shove, okay. But you weren't sharing the information with them, working with their doctors, having their doctors consult your doctors unless you had to. And now, when you finally do get traded, you're still not playing. And I get, okay, the back, maybe that's legit. But before the back, you still didn't come back. You've had 5 months. Supposedly you were working out when you were in Philadelphia and not playing games. And when you got traded, you saw Harden first game after the All-Star game. He's back. He was injured.
Yeah, but maybe he was phony injured. Maybe he was phony injured. I'm just saying.
Well, maybe Ben was too.
I'm just saying, Chris. That's all.
And so to me, it's clear. And at some point, man, I'm looking at like, come on, man, you gonna help us out? The Nets are struggling. We're talking about the Lakers. I know they're not in as bad a shape as the Lakers, but they are the 8th seed. And you got a baller sitting there on the bench. So I think Ben Simmons clearly has been the most disappointing star this season. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. My wife's a medical doctor. My daughter has a degree in psychology and is doing research at Yale in their psychology department. So I'm not dismissive of mental health. But I think there's a fine line between real mental health issues and just the everyday challenges of life. The everyday anxieties, issues, fears, doubts, worries, uncomfortable situations that we all face from time to time. And that's what I think this is in Philly. I'm sorry. That's what I think it is. I'm not giving him a pass.
I hear you, but the only problem I have is the number one guy on the list as far as Kyrie is because he chose not to get vaccinated, which hurts his team. And I'm not standing up for that when you make a commitment to an organization and Chris and everybody else was able to. You hurt the team. He's hurt the Nets. There's no doubt about it. But, and the same thing where you go with Ben Simmons, and of course, I'm not making an excuse. I've been as hard on Ben Simmons as anybody. So I'm with you on that. But I still believe it's more about a guy like Anthony Davis, who when he did play, just wasn't who he was supposed to be. I think that counts more. Those other guys were barely on. Yeah, but they didn't win like they should. The Lakers, Chris, I've seen people, I don't even know who said it. Maybe it's one of they had this on their post-game show last night. They showed a tweet of one of their big-time Laker fans. I can't remember the guy's name. But for them to show his tweet, it said a lot. And he's been a Laker fan. I know this guy for a long time. Who is it? Flea, Chris is his name.
The singer?
Flea from Red Hot Chili Pepper. Yeah. Who's the biggest Laker fan going. And he said this is the most disappointed he's ever been in the Lakers team. I mean, like to say ever. You're talking about the Dwight Howard team, Steve Nash. I mean, there's some teams, Chris, where the Lakers, the Smush Parker Lakers, I mean, I can go on and on. This is the most disappointed that Flea is. Yes, you know why? Because you have 4 guys on the top 75 list.
Yeah, but that's
no. And but you also had expectations. There were expectations, Chris, that they would be in the hunt to get to the finals. Am I wrong?
Some people had them there.
I know we didn't, but a lot of people did. I'm just saying.
I mean, Melo's 37. Westbrook's not a good fit. And AD, here's the thing about AD. You're right, he wasn't. We've both been hard on him since he won the championship because we expected more. He was 23, 10, and 3 on 54% shooting this year. You could do worse than that. But he did get hurt. And like I said, overall, I think he deserves some blame for just his inability to stay healthy throughout his career. But that ankle injury, it's hard to blame him for that. So I think that factors in. Kyrie, he'd be second on my list, Rob. Because, I mean, here's the one thing I'll give Kyrie credit for, Rob. He is not getting paid for the games he's missing.
No, he took a haircut, Chris.
Now, he didn't volunteer that, but that's just the way it is, and he accepted it. I'll give him that. Unlike somebody trying to get paid and not play. But still, and I have not gotten, because he hasn't taken the vaccination, of course, it seems like he's anti-vax. But he said he wasn't. And what he meant, I'm sure, is that I don't mind if you get vaccinated.
Right.
But I'm just not doing it. But I'm saying, my feeling is, come out and tell us why you're so against it. And if you're really that much against it, because you clearly are. And if you're not that much against it, then take it. I like Andrew Wiggins. I'm cool with what Andrew Wiggins did. You know, he took the shot. I got a job to do.
And made the All-Star team.
Right. He got rewarded for that. What was that part of the deal? But I think, Kyrie, I'd have him second. But to me, clearly Ben Simmons is number one.